Last Epoch Season 4 is just around the corner, and today I'll walk you through everything we know about it and whether it's looking any good. Let's get into it. Omen windows is the main seasonal mechanic for Season 4. You step into this area and shatter the Omen window in the middle here for special fractured enemies to spawn. And defeating enemies inside makes the area expand and progress the challenge further. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Pixel Aptitude. I've played Last Epoch since early access and have a deep passion for the game. So, in these Omen windows encounters, there is a special Omen enemy that will first stay tethered to all of these elite fractured enemies. But as you defeat enough waves of monsters, the Omen will destroy the remaining enemies, absorbing their strength and then finally attack you. And these Omens, I guess, will drop powerful loot and all of that, but we also know they will at least drop 2 totally new things that we'll discuss up next. And the third one we'll save for the end of the video. Now, the first thing these powerful Omens can drop is the new Rune of Corruption. This rune can be used to, yeah, you guessed right, to corrupt items. And corrupting items can either ruin them completely, making them unusable, but also make them extremely powerful if you're lucky. And we do have quite a lot of teasers on how some of the corrupted stats will look. So we got stats like +1 to all skills, minion flat damage, +2 to all attributes with corrupted items equipped, a +9 to intelligence, and 100% of intelligence converted to madness. And what the heck is madness? Well, we'll get to that later. Corrupting items is obviously a high risk, high reward kind of thing. Will you dare to corrupt a god tier item for your build? I think a good usage for these might be corrupting the second best piece of gear you have for your build to see if it might become an upgrade to what you have already. And if it does, then it might be more tempting to try and corrupt the best item you had before corrupting the second best item. Either way, this opens up tons of possibilities in terms of build uniqueness and min-maxing. 2 thumbs up for me. But corrupting items is already a common mechanic in ARPGs, and the next thing we'll look at is much more unique. So, these Omen enemies from Omen windows can also drop something called Timeless Fragments, a new multi-use currency that can be used to trade for specific items, including Runes of Corruption and new Woven Echoes. They will also play a role in the endgame where a more challenging version of the Omen window called the Greater Window can occur as an Echo objective. Completing this encounter will transform the Omen window into a Time Glass core, where you can spend Time Glass fragments to modify your Echo web and add Echo chains. We don't know much more than that, but new endgame content is always warmly welcome, and I'm really excited to see what this brings. But now you might ask yourself, what the heck are Echo chains? Well, that's a whole separate chapter in itself. Echo chains is a new way to play the endgame monolith system where you can chain echoes together, and there are different types of echo chains that are centered around specific mechanics, allowing you to engage with those mechanics of several echoes in a row. And then you'll finish the chain with a more rewarding echo such as a woven echo. We don't know much more than that for now, but there will also be quality of life stuff like having a quick portal to the next echo every time, so that you don't have to engage with the monolith hub and the echo web each time to keep the flow going. And there will also be at least one new Weaver Tree node that increases the spawn rate of these echo chains. So yeah, we're getting a new endgame mechanic here that will make you play a sequence of echoes faster, but also tailor your endgame experience even more in terms of what mechanic you want to play and potentially what rewards you're after. This looks really exciting to try out. Now, these are game mechanics that look really interesting, but there's also huge changes coming to character building, and we'll look at that up next. Now, there's a lot of skills and passive changes coming in Season 4, but the biggest features will be 2 new rogue skills. Yes, this season is the rogue's turn, and she's now getting Bladestorm as a fully standalone skill. Bladestorm was originally a node in the Umbral Blade skill tree that converted the blades into spinning blades, but now this has been extracted and made into a whole separate skill with its own skill tree. And they've also teased this skill tree node from the new skill where it's obvious that you can either spec into bleed, poison or frostbite if you want. If there are other conversions, we don't know yet, but at least we know we get ailment damage for physical, poison and cold damage. Interesting. And there's also a node that will make Bladestorm cast shurikens automatically every 2 seconds, and we all love skills triggering other skills, right? But even though Bladestorm now has its own separate brand new skill tree, it's still a known skill mechanic if you've played Last Epoch already. But the next one we'll look at is a brand new skill that has never been in the game, Shadowrend. Now, this skill ties perfectly into the shadow mechanic that Rogue already has, and it's quite apparent with the name that this skill's primary focus is to rend or create shadows. And then there will obviously be many synergies and different mechanics tied to that which this skill will provide. We know that activating Shadowrend triggers a swift initial strike and leaves behind a shadow that unleashes a far stronger delayed attack. You can use it either with melee weapons or a bow, and it's a general class skill, so you're not forced to spend passive points into any of the rogue masteries to get the skill. And we also know that you can spec it into a traversal skill with this node, giving it a cooldown, but also a lot more multiplicative damage. So adding 2 new skills in a season, that's kind of huge in my opinion. And even though Bladestorm is a skill conversion from Umbral Blades we've seen before, it's still a whole new standalone skill with its own skill tree now. So for me, these are huge features they've added, and get 2 thumbs up from me. But these new skills are just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming in terms of skill changes, because there's a lot of interesting new skill nodes and changes to existing ones coming up too. You have this new node for Dreadshade where you can automatically cast Dreadshade on zombies you summon directly. This is a great way to buff your zombies with all the juicy stuff from Dreadshade with 0 management, and should make volatile zombies much more interesting as a primary offensive skill. There will also be new skill nodes for Flame Reave where you can cast a fireball at a random nearby enemy when killing an enemy or hitting a boss or rare enemy. And the same goes for triggering Lightning Blast instead of Fireball with this node. And for Shattering Strike, you got this new node where Ice Spikes can trigger a random sized glacier. So Spellblade is definitely getting some love in Season 4. The mastery skill of Blade Dancer, Dancing Strikes, is also getting a change. Before, the skill had a base cooldown of 0.7 seconds, but this cooldown is now removed altogether, which should make Dancing Strikes more appealing. But the change I'm most excited for in terms of skills is the incoming change here for Summon Skeleton Mage. If you spec into these Death Knights versions of the mages, they will now be affected by your Hungering Soul skill tree when casting Hungering Souls. Before, this was kind of useless because you couldn't scale it with the Hungering Soul skill tree, but now that this uses your Hungering Soul skill tree, it will be insanely more powerful. So this change will be very interesting to try out. In terms of known mastery changes, there's a huge one where the Spellblade's previous mastery benefit will be changed. Before, it had mana spent on melee attacks is converted to ward, which is probably not the best mastery bonus I've seen. But for Season 4, they will change it to 40% of added melee damage on weapons is also gained as added spell damage. Now this opens up a lot of possibilities on scaling damage for spells alongside melee, and will open up a lot more build possibilities and synergies. So for me, I'll welcome this change with open arms. Spellblade will also get some new passive nodes here that look very interesting, with a lot of mana sustain synergies and more damage for high cost mana skills. Now Blade Dancer will also get changes to its passive tree. Here is a teaser of one of the new nodes that has a very nice threshold bonus based on how much dexterity you have. So if you have 100 dexterity, you get all of these bonuses: glancing blow chance, attack speed, and movement speed. Really nice. And while new passives are cool and all that, it's nothing compared to the next mechanic we'll have a look at, which is also a huge feature coming to character building in Season 4. There's something new coming that we don't know much details about yet, where you can convert any of the existing attributes into something else. Intelligence can be converted to something called Madness, Vitality to Rampancy, Dexterity to Guile, Strength to Brutality, and Attunement to Apathy. Now these new conversions will obviously give some new benefits that the existing attributes don't have, but we don't know what that is and what you have to sacrifice from the existing attributes. Will you lose all of the attribute bonuses, such as losing both increased armor from strength and also the skill scaling on strength skills? Or will you only lose the increased armor benefit? We don't know yet. And what will these new attribute conversions give? If you think about it, this can potentially be huge and open up even more ways to build your character. For me personally, this is extremely exciting, as it somewhat introduces 5 new attributes, or at least variants of them, which is extremely interesting, I think. But for me, there's one part of the game where I always find most enjoyment in, and we got some really cool teasers for that as well. But before we go into that, I just want to quickly go through some other stuff here. Now, they've announced that the loot filter will get new features such as filtering on even more specific stuff, which is a great quality of life feature to not break immersion with loot you're not really interested in. So that's great. And they've also teased some new cosmetics here. This is going to be a fast one. So we got some fairy stuff going on here. Who knows what this is? And then some wings of some sort. I don't know. I hope they got some cooler MTX up their sleeves than this, to be honest. And there are also brand new animations coming to the game. They are constantly introducing stuff like this every season, which just makes the game look better and be more immersive to play. This time they've improved on how enemies react when getting hit. They are now supposedly visually reacting to hits through new specific animations for each enemy type. This will hopefully be really good and make combat look less generic across the board, so that will be interesting to see throughout the game. The rogue is also getting animation overhauls to, for instance, throwing animations, idle states, and running and evading, which ties into this being the rogue season. The primalist is also getting animation improvements, with the main focus being on combat and movement animations feeling smoother and more realistic. Can't wait to see this in action. But now let's switch focus to one of my favorite things, itemization, and most importantly, new items. I just want to quickly show you that for Season 4, they have also improved existing uniques that have trigger effects. These are uniques that typically trigger specific skill effects on hit. But these uniques have often been overlooked, because they usually don't trigger the skills often enough for it to really be fully viable as builds. But now they're trying to improve on that, so they have this list here of uniques and set items where they have buffed mechanics tied to triggering different skills. And I think this is a very good buff to hopefully make some builds with these items more viable. I've always loved triggering skills from other skills, and hopefully we can find some really cool and viable builds with these changes. And they've also introduced changes to existing primordial items. So you can see the list here. I'll link it in the video description if you want to have a closer look. But the most noteworthy item getting a buff here is the Wildfire Ember Amulet. Maybe now it will be worth going for this item for Ignite builds, only time will tell. But it's great that they've shown it some love for Season 4. But now to the really cool part, new unique and set items. There are two particular unique items I really look forward to trying out, and we'll soon get to those, but there are a lot of different set items coming as well. There's this new set item that has a very interesting bonus that boosts Weaver Will's weapons, and the items themselves don't look that bad either. You get a lot of good stats here based on stacking attributes, and these items themselves actually give a lot of attributes too, and have resistances, ward buffs, etc. So I assume we'll see a lot of different builds using these set items. We also got this set that converts Volcanic Orb to fire or cold, and set item bonus makes Volcanic Orbs orbit around you, which sounds quite cool. And then we got this new rogue set primarily focusing on shadows, which ties perfectly into the new rogue changes with Shadowrend and all of that. They've also buffed existing unique items, most of them with one really good additional stat. Dragonflame Edict gets +1 to all minion skills. Frozen Ice of Formosus gets increased minion cooldown recovery speed. Logi's Hunger gets increased minion attack and cast speed, and the same for the Raven's Rinse Gloves. So these will be highly interesting to use for minion builds in Season 4. As for new uniques, you got some really interesting ones here. You can check out all of these yourself in the resources I'll link to in the video description, but I got two favorites here we'll have a look at closer. First up is the Ashwake Boots converting Aura of Decay to fire, inflicting Ignite instead of poison. This is just awesome, because it opens up a whole new world of Ignite-based builds for the Acolyte. Up until now, Aura of Decay was useless for these builds, but now there will be so many new possibilities here. I'll definitely make at least one build with these boots. And the final item that has really caught my eye is the Raya's Embrace body armor for the Primalist, turning your Stormcrows and Spriggan into fire minions. And the Spriggan also gains one more Thorn Volley projectile and 10% more multiplicative damage per summoned Stormcrow. And the health gained on companion hit will also be a huge defensive layer, along with a massive increased health for both ourselves and our minions. Really, really cool. And if you thought we're done by now, we're not, because we'll now look at one of the big changes coming to Season 4. Now remember, Omen enemies from Omen windows have a chance to drop a Rune of Corruption and Time Glass fragments? Well, they can also drop a brand new thing called Idol Altars. And these items can be used to alter your idol setup. You can place one of them in a new slot above your idol inventory, modifying its shape and properties. Idol Altars also roll with modifiers that affect your entire idol inventory, which makes it even more interesting. That's the purple squares you can see in the setup here. But what these modifiers will be, we have no information on yet. So my overall opinion on everything we know so far is that this will be quite a huge patch, and I think the changes being introduced look really interesting, especially in terms of build variations and possibilities there. And it looks like the Omen windows and Echo Chains will be very cool endgame mechanics. And if you want to know more about the upcoming stuff for Season 4, I will cover the entire hype week, so make sure to click the subscribe button below and turn on notifications to stay tuned for all of that. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button.